This is Things Police See, first-hand accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. It is I, Old Gingerface, here with you as always. Guys, I hope you had a great Christmas and a happy New Year. I'm glad to be back on the saddle, as they say. I got a bunch of guests lined up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to throw probably a few cop movie reviews in there. People said they thought that would be fun and cool. Rest assured, the police interviews won't be going away. That's the whole purpose of the show. So, if you know anybody out there, if you are a copper, if you're on the job, we can use a pseudonym. Don't have to talk about your department you work for, or if you're retired, even better, because retired guys and gals kind of just say whatever they want, which is preferable for the show. Either way, I take guests any way I can get them. So just reach out, steve@thingspolicec.com, or go to thingspolicec.com, scroll down and click on Be a Guest. Today's guest, very excited to have him on. He's actually, he's from a town right near the town my mother grew up in, where I spent a lot of time as a kid. It's seen a lot of changes. He's retired after 32 years with Waltham, Mass. Police Department, 3 years street-level drug unit, 22 years patrol sergeant, 16 years regional SWAT team, I believe it was NEMLEC. Did search and capture of the second Boston bomber, competed on 2 major network reality TV shows. He's still a sworn special. He can't get enough, and he also works executive protection. Without further ado, let me bring on the great Jim Vaglica. Jim!
Yes.
Hey, man. Thanks for coming on.
Steve, it's great to virtually meet you.
Yes, you as well. We were chatting before we started that as a child, I've been driven past Waltham multiple times on different highways and roads, and it just has been getting bigger and bigger, and it's a legit, I mean, it's a big town now. How many coppers are over there now?
It's a city, man. We got, I think, 160 cops now.
Yeah. When I used to go by it was like, I was saying on like that, I think it's part of Route 2 that you go by, and then like there's always every year there'd be another building going up, Boston Children's Hospital buildings going up. And now it's like, yeah, like you said, it's a legit city. It's really grown. How many, is the population exploded over the last 30 years, or is it just commercial stuff?
So, we've always had 60,000 official residents, but we also have a lot of illegal residents, basically the whole south side. I don't know how many are officially counted, but I would have to guess we're probably up around 70,000 unofficial residents. So yeah, we got 13 square miles. We've got mostly multifamily dwellings. We cram a lot of people into the city. Yeah,
you can tell. It's funny. I feel like I've kind of in spirit worked with Waltham PD before, because we used to do this firearms trailer when I was a cop on Cape Cod, and they run real live video. And when you go through the video, there's always this one, there was like a school shooting, and then there was also like a gun store, and you're with Waltham PD as they do like an alarm search and then like a active shooter. Were you involved in that at all?
I don't know, man. I've done a lot of those. I might be in the video. I'm not sure.
It's so funny. I always wondered how they picked Waltham PD to be in the video that the training scenario was there in. Obviously, you had a chief that wanted to participate or something.
Yeah. We our department has always been like really progressive and jumping on whatever, what's ever new in policing. So, we have canines, we have drone, we have a whole drone unit now.
Nice.
We've got cops in every single school, SROs, and they're in full uniform, full gear. We didn't soften them, just to get the kids accustomed to, seeing real cops like every day and being their friend, just interacting with them. And I think that's huge. That's, we're seeding future cops, and that's really what we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy to say that this this podcast, I get a lot of emails and pictures from police academy graduations. They hear gentlemen and women just like yourself come on here and talk about being a cop. And they actually, from listening to a lot of episodes of the podcast, it's one of the factors, I'm told, that makes them decide to become a cop. And I think that's the coolest thing the podcast could do.
That's great. Cause that's, again, that's what we need, that the entire nation needs cops. We don't have the candidates that we used to have. Like, back in the day, back when I took the exam, there was like tens of thousands of applicants. They actually had to start charging more money for the exam because they were trying to narrow it down to people who were really serious, because guys were just taking the exam. Hey, there's a police exam coming up, I'll just jump on. And then they weren't really serious about it. So we need to recruit, and I think we need to start early in the schools, like with the little kids, bringing them back on board, showing them, hey, this is what a cop does. They're your friends, and you should trust them, and you should aspire. And you want to be a cop? Awesome. We'll show you how to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. We had school resource officers on the Cape, and they definitely picked the right people to do it. They definitely were made a good connection with us. And my father was a cop for 30 years, so I already knew cops were great. But it was for other people to see them just be like someone's father, someone's husband. It's a normal dude who's doing this pretty extraordinary job for the community, and get to know him a little bit beyond just the scary blue lights in your rear view.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Jim, can you take us back to when you were young on patrol, the first call you went to that you would have considered like a hot call, the first call that gave you a little adrenaline dump?
So you're asking me to go back to ancient history, man.
The pyramids, baby.
I've forgotten more great stories than I can remember. But when I came on the job, we didn't have an FTO program. And we rode, 2-man cars. So new guys just got thrown in with some old veteran who didn't even want you in the car and wasn't interested in showing you anything. He wasn't interested in teaching you anything. He was actually teaching you how to avoid any kind of
radio calls.
It was horrible. Like, I can remember one of the first nights I was working, I was with this older guy, and he was famous for just avoiding police work. And so we come up on Main Street. I'm working an overnight shift. So, and I'm raring to go. I'm a new guy. I'm an aggressive, young cop, right?
Yeah, let's
and
get
I want
an
to
arrest.
do police work. And I look to my right and I go, hey, John, it looks like there's a fight down there. And the dude turns left. It's like, what are you doing, man? I want to be a cop and you don't, and I'm stuck with you. That was horrible. It was months before I actually got to ride with someone who really wanted to do the job.
Yeah, that's a shame. They try to avoid those guys now. They don't want those people being FTOs. I know what you're talking about, the old break-in period where you just go with whoever the sergeant points at. You're just stuck with that guy, and he may or may not be interested in telling you anything. Sometimes you end up with someone great. Sometimes you end up with the guy that just is hiding on midnights.
Yeah, and I just got stuck so much with these guys that didn't want to do anything. Their main focus was, how little can I do during this shift? And it drove me insane. But anyway, so I don't know. I can remember I went in for a Sunday day shift because they would just pull. So I was on nights, but they would just pull the new guys if they needed people on days. And I can remember it was an Easter Sunday, and I figured, all right, well, nothing's happening today, right? So about an hour into the shift, we're knocking down a door, serving a search warrant for firearms, because some dudes the night before broke into a bar, and they knew that there was a gun in the bar and they wanted the gun. So they broke into the bar, they stole the gun, and somehow somebody did some good police work because they figured out where these guys were. They were in an apartment, and we're smashing down their door and, running in like cops do, right? This was like a dream come true for me, but that was early on in my career. That's one thing that stands out. I can remember.
Yeah. You probably had an adrenaline rush in a good way. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah. Some adrenaline. That's what I was looking for.
That's funny. You were involved, you were in NEMLEC during the Boston bombing thing. I mean, talk about the adrenal glands going. What was that like? And what was the, like, hunting down the second Tsarnaev brother? How'd it go down?
That's a really long, involved story. I don't know how much you want to get into that, because if I start talking about that, it's just gonna roll and roll. And I mean, if you have like some specific questions, if not, it's gonna take me like 20 minutes to go over the whole thing. It's
okay. I can narrow it down, because for me, I was on duty when that was happening on the Cape. So we started scanning listening to frequencies in Boston, and my buddy was on Cape Cod SWAT. So he just left and went up there. And then he sent pictures of them and their Bearcat rolling through Boston, and it was empty. I've never seen Boston like this. Everybody was like, go home. The cops have to come out and kill these guys. And everybody was like, you got it. They actually did it. Like, there was nobody there. And to me, that was super spooky. Super spooky.
It was a really strange time. And it was basically, like martial law. Like, it was shelter in place. You had to stay in your house, and we're rolling through Watertown telling people to get back in their house, because they would come out on the porch or whatever, and they were like hanging out of windows. And I mean, the way these things happen, where something big occurs and all this false information comes out, right?
Yeah.
So when I got to Watertown, it was about 2 a.m. Friday morning. So that was so Sean Collier gets assassinated on MIT property on Thursday evening. And then they jacked the dude for his BMW, right?
Right.
Like, you saw the movie Patriots Day, right?
I didn't see the movie. No.
You didn't see it?
Oh, I heard it's good,
Steve,
though.
What's going on, Steve? You got to get out of the house, man. You got to watch Patriots Day.
I'm out in the woods, brother. I know. I gotta.
Well, you guys get cable. No, but so Patriots Day is a good movie. All right.
I've heard that. Yeah.
And I love talking about that movie because it's so strange. And so here's what's strange. And also, I'm a screenwriter. I wrote my own screenplay, and believe it or not, it's a cop story. But
that's awesome.
So Patriots Day is such a strange movie because they go through, like, it's the actual events that occurred, right? And they use the actual names of everybody involved, okay? And who's the main character of the movie? It's Wahlberg plays this Boston police sergeant, okay? That's a completely fictional character. He never even existed.
Yeah.
But being a screenwriter, and I'm thinking about, after this went down, I'm like, all right, so how many movies are they going to make about this? And I'm thinking, how are they going to make the movie? Who is going to write this screenplay? Because you're going to need a character. You're going to need one character to bring you from beginning to end, right?
Right.
And who is that? There's only one person that can bring you from beginning to end of that story, and it's the younger brother. So you can't make the younger brother the protagonist of the story, because you're going to have to at least kind of like this guy. And especially people in Boston, we're not going to put up with the main character being likable. This younger brother, right? This bomber who put a bomb down next to a child. He's no hero. Nobody's going to like this guy.
Yeah, so you're not going to get like a Tony Soprano situation out of it and be like, well, I kind of see how he's likable. There's nothing likable.
Yeah. No, well, that wasn't going to happen. So anyway, they had to create this fictional character, which, I went and saw the movie as soon as it came out, and I thought it was a good movie, but they definitely took their liberties.
Of course.
But you watch the movie and see what you think.
I will. Actually, I've been told by other cops that, and that's how I know it's good, because other cops say they like it, so I know it's not terrible. A lot of times cops, they'll sniff out cop movies. So
it's a fun movie. It's definitely a good movie to watch.
I remember hearing the huge gunfight in Watertown when the guy was throwing stuff out the windows and pipe bombs and all that. And then were you on? So after that all settles and you guys are literally going like through neighborhoods. I always had a question too about that. Like that is like you're saying, it's a lockdown situation, but it becomes like that Fourth Amendment question where it's like, if you knock on someone's door and I feel like they're not, say they're just off or weird. No, we're fine. No one's in here. Shuts the door.
Yeah.
You catch a vibe. You kind of feel like, I should be able to go in that house. And I know that came up a little bit with the Fourth Amendment, because it was like, can you breach the threshold if you just have a hunch,
Okay. So here's how it all went down, because people have the wrong idea. We knocked on the door. Hopefully somebody answers. Okay. And then we say what we're doing and who we're looking for. And we ask, would you like us to check, any part of your house, any or all of your house? Do you feel comfortable? And most people would say, can you check the basement?
Yeah.
So that's what we mostly did, was check people's basements. And you have to understand, we're in full gear and we're looking for someone who we are told is armed and might have bombs, might have a suicide vest. So we're at high alert, searching for hours and hours. Right? So yeah, if someone said, no, I don't want you to come in my house, we didn't go in, and I don't think we ever got like the impression, all right, this person is nervous, this person is off.
No one went, no, you can't come in.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
That never came up. And,
okay.
And, throughout the day we were getting, like people were calling 911 every time they heard a noise,
I bet.
And then even crazy people were calling. Like we had this one woman call that said she was being held hostage. And, you can imagine the response that she got, right?
Yeah.
And then soon enough, we figured out she's just crazy. There's no one in her house.
Ugh.
But yeah, that's like I said, that's a whole nother story.
Were you part of it? Were you there when he was in the boat and all that?
Oh yeah. So
can you describe that situation?
Yeah. So FBI is in charge, right? They set up at a command post, which was at the Watertown Mall. It used to be called the Arsenal Mall, right? And so they set up a grid, and the grid was, I believe it was 20 blocks square in Watertown, right? And so if you look at the grid from above on a map, right, that the edge of one side is a street, and then the boat that was in the driveway was on the street adjacent to that. So the boat was one street outside of our search grid. So when we searched the entire grid and we were confident that he was not there, that's when we all went back to the command post. It was about 6 p.m. on Friday evening. And we were just like, all right, what's next? And that's when Watertown lifted the shelter in place order and people came out of their houses. And that's when this dude, saw that there was something amiss with his boat, right? He was really like anal about his boat. It was covered. It was covered with one of those like shrink wraps.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like the white shrink wrap. So he went and he checked it out and it was cut. So he gets a little step ladder. He looks inside his boat and he sees blood. And then he looks a little more and he sees Yeah, there's the boat, man. I was like 30 feet from that boat that whole time when people were watching it from a helicopter. That's the state police helicopter with their infrared, and
Yeah.
you can see a heat signature inside the boat, right?
Yep.
That's the younger brother laying down. So anyway, so he calls 911, and then Watertown PD makes the mistake of putting this info out over the air, right? And now every guy, every person with a badge and a gun and a vehicle just converges on that boat,
Oh,
and
boy.
they completely clog the street. Okay, so by the time we get in our armored vehicle and head down there, we can't even get close. So we gotta get out of our vehicle, full gear, run about a half mile. And while I'm running down there, I can hear the shots going off, right? So what happened was all these uniformed guys surround the boat, okay? I mean, surround. So one of the cops, I don't know what he sees, I don't know what he hears, but one of the cops yells gun. And
they're all pointing the guns at each other.
Someone starts firing at the boat, right? And what happens? Sympathetic fire.
Yeah.
Everyone around that boat starts shooting at it. And so now we got a 360 firing squad, right? And bullets are coming past other cops, right? One cop gets shot. Luckily it wasn't fatal.
Right.
But as we're running up to this boat, I hear so many gunshots. It sounds like bacon frying, right? And it turns out they had fired over 400 rounds at the boat.
Woo.
In a 360 with every type of weapon. Guys had long arms, guys had shotguns. And so somehow the Boston police commissioner had gotten there really quick, and he gets on his PA system, and I can hear him saying, cease fire, cease fire. And then as soon as he sees us show up, right, my team's about 20 guys, and he starts saying, uniforms out, tactical in, right? So, and that always stuck in my mind because I'd never heard anybody say that, uniforms out, tactical in. And so that's when all the uniforms started pulling out, getting away from the boat, and then we took the inner perimeter. So my team was like about 25, 30 feet away from that boat. And we all had eyes on. So then that's when FBI negotiator gets up in a second floor window, and he's got his own PA system, and he starts trying to talk to the younger brother who's in the boat.
Right.
So he'd already been shot. I don't know how bad his injuries were, but he wasn't communicating at first. So the FBI SWAT team, I think they commandeered a Bearcat, an armored vehicle, and they started to. First, they were firing flashbangs into the boat. So they had projectile flashbangs that they were firing into this boat, and then they were firing pepper gas into the boat. So imagine, like, this is a small boat, right? And it's completely contained. So, and I've been exposed to pepper gas and tear gas, many times. I don't know how someone can survive inside a small boat covered that's now filled with pepper gas.
I would make it.
He had nothing else to breathe except that gas. He must have been covering his face with his shirt or something, but I don't even see how he survived.
That's crazy.
That went on. So the negotiations went on for about 3 hours. And I'm rambling on here, but
no, it's good. It's good info. It's interesting.
Yeah, there's so much I can tell you about this whole incident. But anyway, so the standing order is no one approaches the boat, because we're thinking he's got a bomb and he's going to suck us in, and it's going to be a suicide bombing, right?
Right.
So,
why wouldn't he? He already laid one out.
Yeah, he knows he's screwed. He's not going anywhere. and he knows what he did, and we know what he did, and he knows what his life is like for his future, right? And he's like, I don't know, what is he, 19 or 20 years old or something?
Yeah, he was young.
Anyway, he's got nothing to lose. So it was about 9:00, okay? And he's straddling the boat. He's got one leg and one arm outside, one leg, one arm inside, and we can't see his other hand. And he's trying to talk. I think he had a throat injury plus all that pepper gas. He was trying to say some things, but he was kind of like really lethargic, and I don't know if he was acting or not, or what was going on. But he just straddled that boat for, it seemed like, an hour or so, and he wasn't moving. And that's when I see this team. It's a tactical team, and they start moving up the driveway toward the boat, right? And I'm thinking, who is this team, right? And then the FBI negotiator says that team approaching the boat, stand down, back off, do not approach that boat. This is the FBI. We have control of this scene. And they kind of stumbled a little bit, and one of them. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah, sure.
So I'm just guessing one of them said "fuck him," and they just went forward.
F the FBI.
And one of the guys just like jumped up, grabbed his wrist, and pulled him out of the boat. And he just lands in the driveway, and then they just pig pile him, and wrap him up. That was the end of it. But that was never supposed to happen. If you watch the movie, they portray it as, Boston SWAT did that, and it was a big plan, but that was never supposed to happen.
Yeah, kind of continuing the thread from The Departed, where, the feds are best left in the dark like mushrooms or whatever. Well, Boston will handle it. Screw the feds.
Yeah. And also in the movie, they at one point they say, like the Boston police kind of figure out that the feds know more than they're saying. And I firmly believe that. Like I said, this octopus has so many tentacles, but there's pretty good information that the older brother was a rat for the FBI.
Really?
Did you ever hear that?
No.
No.
If I did,
okay.
I forgot.
Yeah. So he was definitely a rat for the FBI, and I think they loaned him out to the CIA. He went overseas, probably multiple occasions, and did some supposedly undercover work over there. They weren't really buying it. They called him the American, and they were like he was like a joke to them, but he ended up getting at least one camp of terrorists killed. Like I said, this whole story is crazy. All right. Let me ask you this. Do you know that the older brother did a triple murder in my city 1 year before the bombing?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah. He and an accomplice executed 3 drug dealers who he was actually friends with them. And he knew that they had a lot of cash in their apartment because they were dealing pounds of marijuana, and they fancied themselves real businessmen, drug dealers, right? And so he got into their apartment. There was no forced entry. Like I said, he's friends with them, right? And he ended up duct taping them together, duct taping their hands, and cutting their throats.
Oof.
And he actually tried to cut one of their heads off, but gave up at some point. Took all their cash. We estimated at least $60,000 in cash, and then he took their marijuana and he dumped it all over their bodies and all over the apartment. I don't know his motivation for that. Maybe to screw up the crime scene, or just like throw off the investigators. But there's an investigative reporter. Her name's Michelle McPhee, and she knows more about the whole situation than anyone in the world. So she's written 2 books on it, and she's friends of mine. I actually did a podcast for her about the whole incident. But if you're interested in that, read her books. They're fascinating stuff.
Yeah, well read.
But all right, I'm starting to ramble, and I tend to do that. So bring me back. What are we here? Where are we going here, Steve?
No, you weren't rambling at all. That was great info. People love to hear about the inside. What's going on with that situation? You kidding me?
Yeah, man, I got a lot of inside info on that stuff. But anyway,
how did they tie him to that triple murder?
He was, like I said, he was friends with them, right? So they got to look at all their friends and associates. There was a lot of involvement. The FBI actually knew that they had some good information on who his accomplice was. The kid took off to Florida. So they went down there and they interviewed him. And they had a whole video camera. They went to his apartment, right? And so it was FBI, and it was a task force. So there was some, I think, state police. And actually, one of my Waltham detectives was supposed to go down there for that interview, but something screwed up. He didn't end up going. But anyway, so they do this video interview with this kid in his apartment. And at some point, all right, this FBI agent ends up putting like 5 or 6 rounds in this kid, and he's dead in his apartment. Whoa. And yeah, so, and that story took a lot of twists and turns. First it was like he broke a table and grabbed the table leg and attacked the agent, and then it was he pulled a knife on the agent, and I think they finally decided on he took a samurai sword off the wall and attacked them, and that's why they had to put so many rounds in him, one being the top of his head. But of course they looked into it, and it turns out it was justified. If you
yeah, read between the lines there. Yeah, he died by suicide, 2 gunshots to the back of the head.
Yeah. So like I said, there's so many tentacles involved in that story. It's crazy. And if you're interested, look up Michelle McPhee.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all. That's nuts, man. It's funny. You wonder why the trust for federal law enforcement is at an all-time low. No one just believes a damn word they say.
Yeah. I'm not going to get into the whole FBI thing, but I've worked with them on many cases, and I'll just leave it at that.
Understood. Jim, can you think of in your career and think about the strangest or most bizarre thing you dealt with on the job?
I knew you were going to hit me with this, and I was racking my brain. One thing, how can I find one thing? But, I went on a lot of suicides, and they always tend to be bizarre. For some reason, suicides are always weird. And I can, one of them stands out, where this guy went down into his basement and he put a shotgun in his mouth. All right.
Oof.
So you have to understand what a shotgun is like. It's depending on if it's buckshot, which is 9 pellets, or a deer slug, which is 1 huge pellet. I don't know. I think he used buckshot, but anyway, when it's coming out of the barrel, it's all still in one piece. So It makes a round hole. So the top of his head had a round hole in it. Okay, like maybe the size of a $50, if you can remember those. Anyway, he's laying there on the ground, and he's got this round hole in the top of his head. But the bizarre thing is that his brain was on the ground right next to his head. And it was an entire brain, like you'd see in a jar.
Yeah.
And the reason is the barrel's in his mouth, and there's a lot of pressure and gas that comes out of this barrel when it's fired, right? So the rounds, they go right through his brain and out through the top of his head, and the pressure builds up inside his skull, and the brain is like spongy, right? The pressure pushes his brain out of this small hole, and then it just pops back into shape, and it's
That's
just sitting
nuts.
there, a whole brain just sitting there next to him. I was like, what the hell am I looking at, man? This is so bizarre.
That's great. Know what's crazy? When I was on the Cape, there was a detective had an old case out, and he had a suicide by shotgun at the beach, and it was the same thing. A perfectly formed brain in the sand, and they couldn't figure out how it just popped out of his head. The same thing, dude. Same thing.
Yeah, man. I never heard of it until I saw it.
That's crazy. Wow. I can't believe I've heard this story twice now. That's bizarre. That's bizarre.
Apparently it's the thing, man.
Damn.
But suicides, like, I remember another one. It was this guy. He hung himself from his closet door. All right. And, people think like if to hang yourself, you need like something high and you're going to be hanged, your feet are 3 feet off the ground or whatever.
Right.
That's not the case. You can hang yourself from an anchor on the floor. It's just all about cutting off your blood supply, right? And you carotid artery. So I walked into this guy's apartment, and I just see this guy standing against a closet door. The door's closed, and he's just standing there. And he looks like he's asleep. His eyes are closed, and his feet are on the floor. And I'm like, well, this is strange. Like, is this guy dead or what? And you had to look closely. He used an electric cord.
Yeah.
And it was around his neck, and it was over the top of the door. And then inside, he had it tied to the knob, right? And he just kind of relaxed. And it cut off his carotids, and within a few seconds he's probably unconscious, and then that's the end of it, right? He's just going to hang there, and no blood's going to his brain. So in 10 minutes, it's too late. He's gone. He was only there for a couple of hours, so he wasn't changing colors yet or anything like that. Which I'm sure you've seen bodies that have been there for a while. They turn a deep purple.
Yeah.
That especially the lividity, right?
Pooling of the blood. Yeah.
Pooling of the blood down the bottom, wherever the bottom is. Like I had another guy. I had this guy who died of a heart attack. He was sitting in his office chair, and he had been there since the morning, apparently, because this was afternoon when we walked in, and he was sitting in his office chair. He didn't fall out of it. And he just like his hands were hanging down to the floor, and his face, he was facing downward. So his face was like a deep purple, and his hands were deep purple. Just another, bizarre stuff on suicides.
Yeah. That is crazy. That when I was in police academy, they had a trooper came and went through a case with us. And it was for the same thing. Guy was leaning, would put a rope around the top of the door and leaned and died. Older guy. And the family was so upset. Big Catholic family. He's killed himself. Mortal sin. Grandpa's in hell. They ended up looking at the top of the door, and there was a groove worn in the door from doing this for years and years. And what they figured out, he was doing auto asphyxiation. He would he'd put like a belt around his neck, attached to this rope, lean forward and masturbate. Very crude. Sorry to the listeners. But so the trooper was like, so I have to sit down with the family and be like, good news, it was a venial sin. Bad news, Grandpa used to choke himself. And the situation she was in, just telling the family, I was like shrinking in my chair, like, oh.
Yeah, but think about it, Steve, that whoever found him, right?
Well, he pulled his pants up.
Most likely. And there's been even worse cases than that. where they really, yeah. So you see the full, you see the toys, that he was playing with also. And, you know what else? So, so you use the term sudden death, right? I don't
Yeah.
know if that's the Massachusetts thing or what. You go on a sudden death. We just call it a sudden.
Right.
know.
Yeah. Because it's not like they're sick and old or anything. It's just
Yeah, it's just an unattended death, right?
unattended. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about old guys. They live alone in their apartment and they die with no pants on. I don't know. I can't tell you how many old guys I found with no pants on, dead in their apartment.
Yeah.
So let me I'm going to make a public service announcement right now. If you're an old guy living alone and you think like you might die at some point, just wear some pants around your apartment, please.
Yeah.
Because
if you're awake, put your pants on.
We're kind of tired of finding you that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, yes, I mean, suicide, we just, it wasn't one of mine, but, I talked to the guy who found him actually. All right. So just quickly, this guy wants to off himself. He's a carpenter and, he's a framer. Okay. So he's got the pneumatic, framing gun, right? That uses the framing nails, which are like 5 inches long. They're
big boys.
Big nails, right? So this guy wants to off himself. He doesn't have a gun. He figures he's going to use his nailer, and he puts it up against his temple, and he fires a round, right? And then, so that he's just sitting there, and he's like, I'm not dead. What happened? Right?
No.
So he does it again. He puts another one like an inch away, and then he's just sitting there. And he doesn't die. So this is like the morning, right? So he makes breakfast and then he waits all day long and then he goes to bed. And then he wakes up the next morning and he's like, I'm still alive, man.
Oh my gosh.
So he goes to his
Awful.
neighbor. He lives in an apartment building, right? He goes to his neighbor's house. He knocks on the door and he says, hey man, can you call an ambulance for me? I'll explain it when they get here. So the police always go on ambulance runs. So they show up, right? And they're like, what's going on? And he tells them the story and so he's not bald. So he's got hair. So they have to like move his hair out of the way to see like the head of these nails. They're all the way in. And so they bring him to the hospital and they do an x-ray and this x-ray is insane. Like these nails go halfway across his skull. 2 of them.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's still alive and he's still talking. So, like they say that we only use like a small percentage of our brain. Well, I guess he hit the part of his brain that he wasn't using.
Oh my gosh. That's nuts.
I don't know. So now you're a doctor. What are you going to do? How are you going to, you can't just like take a hammer, right, and just like claw the nails out of his head. I don't know what
stainless steel hammer and
I have no idea what they did with this guy or whatever. So, yeah, suicides or attempted suicide.
Jim, can you tell us about your one of your most intense or terrifying calls that you had?
That was another one I was raking my brain for.
Doesn't have to be terrifying, could just be intense or, whatever. All
right. So, I was with a regional SWAT team, and people outside of Massachusetts have no idea what NEMLEC means. NEMLEC is an acronym. It's the Northeastern Mass Law Enforcement Council, and we have regional teams all over the state because most cities and towns they don't need a SWAT team, right? So we regionalize.
NEMLEC.
So we'll grab like the most qualified cop on each department, right? So we've got an elite team, right? Because you're gathering the best from thousands of candidates. Anyway, I was on NEMLEC SWAT for 16 years, and I've done, I'm guessing 1,000 missions. Anyway, we went to, one afternoon, we go to Peabody, right? And it's up on the North Shore, and it's for a suicidal person who's barricaded in the house. It was like this kid, he was like early 20s, I think, and he had mental issues, and he was violent, and he was like attacking his family. And for a while, I think he held them hostage. Anyway, they escaped the house, and they said that he's in the house and he's trying to kill himself. And he's got like a wire. He grabbed some wire, and they suspected that he was going to hang himself. So they wanted us to go in, and also he had knives. He was chasing them around with like these two, they called them machetes, right? Anyway, so now we can't just go in. We got to form a plan. And so our plan was, all right, one entry team is gonna go through the door. And we figured out that he was in his bedroom. So one team is going to take a shield, and we're going to have less lethal, right? So we're going to have tasers, and so that team going in the door is gonna have a shield up front, right? A taser. I think we had beanbag rounds. One guy did, and definitely we had lethal cover in case everything really went bad. So my team was going to be a window breach. So it was a first floor apartment, and so we had just a small ladder, and then we had one guy was gonna you know what a Halligan bar is?
Yeah.
Halligan, the fire department uses it.
Yep. That's what we use when we need to get in.
It's a large prying tool,
right.
Heavy, like maybe 3 feet long, pry bar, right? So we had practiced window entries many times. Anyway, so the way we do it is ladder. First guy goes up, he's got the Halligan, and he's going to rake and break the window. So I'm on that team. I'm actually, so on my team, we've got the Halligan guy, and then we've got a taser guy, okay, right behind him. And then we've got lethal cover, which was my job. So I have my long arm. So my guy rakes the window, right? And at the same time, the entry team's coming through the door. So he's in the closet, right? And so the entry team, he put like the bureau up against the door, so they had trouble getting in. But anyway, they finally got into his bedroom, and he comes out of the closet, right, with his two giant knives, is what they were, like the biggest butcher knives in the house. And he's got one in each hand, and he's in his underwear, and he's crazed. All right. He's like this real wiry kid, right? And he's got these crazy looking eyes. And so the team enters the room. They hit him with the taser. He drops, right? It's a successful hit. Not all taser hits are successful.
The shield only works about 50% of the time.
You people out there that think tasers are magical, they're not, right?
I wish.
Anyway, this one works. It drops him to the floor. You only have 5 seconds now, right? Because that's going to shut off in 5 seconds. Believe me, it's the longest 5 seconds of my life because I've been tased. Anyway, so 5 seconds is up. He like pops up off the ground, and instead of facing them, he sees this broken window now, right? He comes diving out the window at us, and he's still got the two knives in his hand. Now he's like hanging out the window, and he's like eye to eye with my team. And so the guy in front, still has the Halligan. Okay. And he's got both hands on the Halligan. So the only thing he thinks to do is to like whack this guy on the head with the Halligan bar.
Yep.
Right. So that's what he does. And then, so the kid just kind of goes limp and he's hanging out the window now. Right. And then, he like he wakes up again and he starts to wiggle his way out the window. So now he comes out the window and he like does a flip and he lands on his back and he's right in front of us. And then again, he just pops up like this guy was like the Terminator or something, right? He pops up and he's standing there still with both knives in his hands. He will not let go of these knives. And he's right in front of me, right? And so I'm like, my eyes are popping out of my head. I'm like, holy crap, what am I looking at now? I start to raise the barrel of my long arm, right? And just then the guy next to me hits him with the taser, drops him again, right? And when he drops, we all just grab him, okay? And so the closest thing I can see is his ankles. So I just grab both of his ankles and I pin him to the pavement, okay, until we can get some cuffs on this guy. So one of my hands starts sliding on his ankle, and I'm like, "What's going on here?" Right? I look down, and I can see his Achilles tendon. When he came out the window, that broken glass just filleted his ankle wide open, and so my hand. I got a glove on, right? It's just soaked in blood and it's sliding on his ankle.
Blood is slippery.
So we cuff him and we put him on a stretcher and that was the end of that. But I just
that's nuts.
That whole thing happened in like probably less than 1 minute, but it was just such just so bizarre from beginning to end, and so anyway, fast forward, the family ends up suing us for
of course,
excessive force.
Excessive
force on their beautiful young boy who's going to turn his life around.
Yeah,
if we didn't attack him.
It's so crazy to me. I mean, people who know, but like cops around the country are doing calls, similar things, showing great restraint, going out of their way not to blast somebody when they could. And then what's your reward? A lawsuit. Your name gets dragged through the mud. The city has to pay, or the city has to pay a bunch of money to their attorney to defend. I mean, people are just the worst, brother. It's so bad.
Yeah. I try not to have that attitude. Like so many guys we work with are just fed up with people in general. And
yeah.
But I've tried to fight that my whole career, and I really fight it now. I try and find the good in most people, you know?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm trying. It's a tough fight.
Speaking of that, Jim, do you have a positive or heartwarming experience from your career?
Sorry. You know, I racked my brain on that one too. I knew that question was coming. So when after we wrapped up the second bomber, and we were finally able to get in our vehicle and leave the area of the boat and head back to the command post. All the people of the neighborhood came out of their houses because they heard that we caught him, that he's in custody. So like that's the happy ending of this week, because this was a week-long thing. It started on Monday, and now this is Friday afternoon, right? So all these people. They were on edge, like they didn't know where this kid was or who it was, right? Like you have to think back, like we had no idea who did this or how many people were involved or what their plans were next, right? So everybody in any city and town around Boston was on edge for that whole week. So this was like a relief for them. They
I
all
bet.
came out of their house, and we're taking the slow ride back to the command post, and they're all out there, and they're cheering.
Nice.
And I still get choked up talking about this. They're waving American flags,
Yeah.
and
It's awesome.
they're trying to high five us as we're going by. And yeah, I've seen that one time before. It was a SWAT mission that was, not as big, but yeah, that was probably the closest thing I can come up with to heartwarming situations on the job.
That must have felt so freaking good. And those people must have been so relieved. You imagine every time you go to your car to go to the store, every time you walk out of your house, go in your backyard, you're thinking of that guy popping out. I mean, that's another form of terrorism for these poor people. Like they just feeling uncomfortable in their home, trying to sleep in your house, thinking this guy could pop in.
Well, yeah. And again, you weren't thinking of one guy. You were thinking this might be a whole team. This might be a whole
right.
plan.
Yeah. We didn't know. No one knew.
There was how many, for 9/11, was that 16 guys involved in that whole plot?
Yeah, it was a bunch.
Four on each aircraft. So how many guys are involved in this plot, and where are they?
Right. Yeah, man, that must have felt great. Jim, a real popular question on the show is advice to people looking to get into law enforcement, or who are in backgrounds, or they're just thinking about it. What advice would you give to new coppers coming on the job?
Well, first of all, I want to encourage anyone to apply. Consider going into police work. It's an honorable profession. It's a team. It's a brotherhood. And once you're involved in it, it's much like the military, where you're just so close, and you stay close, forever. I still have my brothers and sisters that, we still do social things, and they're still some of my closest friends. So yeah, just if you're interested, find out what it takes in your state to get involved. Like in Massachusetts, you take the civil service exam for police officers. Comes around like every couple of years. Yeah, I mean, for kids, stay out of trouble. And reach out if you have any family or friends on the job. Reach out, ask them for advice. But we really need good people. And basically, if you are a good candidate and you want the job, it's yours. It's yours, because you don't have much competition for the open spots.
It's a good time to get in, for sure.
It's a very good time to get in. And I really, and I think we need to start with the kids. And I think SROs are super important for the future of policing. So, we have a bunch of great SROs who are out there interacting with the kids every day, showing them, being a role model, and showing them someone to look up to, somebody to trust. And I think that's key to definitely the future of policing, if we even have one at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Words of wisdom. I love it. Jim, where can people get after you if they want to follow what you're doing and all that good stuff?
Basically, I'm on Twitter or X. That's my main social media. That's
look at this guy.
So
yeah, I can see all your stomach muscles, buddy.
Yeah, man.
You're in shape.
Yeah. I'm a gym rat. I always have been.
That's good.
I'll be until I die. Maybe I'll die in the gym, but that'd be fine with me. Yeah, look me up on Twitter or X, and I always respond to people. I'm there every day, and yeah, and for anybody who has a podcast, who you're looking for a guest, I enjoy doing these interviews. So get in touch.
Yeah, I mean, you're a screenwriter. So a friend of mine, Patrick O'Donnell, has a podcast called Cops and Writers. And they even do a writing summit once a year for just cops that are writers. They all go to some place in the country, a nice spot, and they all meet up. He was a Milwaukee sergeant, really good guy. And I bet you anything he'd love to have you on because if you're a writer, that's what he's all about.
Yeah, man. I never heard of it. I actually, I used to write for bodybuilding.com and I used to write for labrada.com. I've got a bunch of articles still up there.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
And then I completed a screenplay. I'm looking to sell it. And one of my biggest life goals is to see my screenplay produced and actually become a film.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it, man. You can do it. Absolutely.
I'm trying, but it's like getting hit by lightning, man. It's like, especially now, all these movies are sequels and superheroes.
Yeah. Well, that's a flash in the pan. They're going to have to get some original ideas.
Well, I got one. My screenplay is something special.
Well, let me hook you up with Patrick. He's got all kinds of connections in the literary world.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that, man.
Hell yeah, brother. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us, sharing your stories. It was an honor to have you.
It's my pleasure. And I've got endless stories. If anybody wants to hear, the whole story about the Boston bombing from beginning to end, I can go through that. I just didn't want to take up all our time. But yeah, I got plenty more to say if anyone's interested in listening to me.
Yeah, that would be fun to have you back and just do a Boston bombing episode. Just take us from A to Z. Yeah,
we can do that. Cause I was there. Like my team went in as soon as those bombs went off. My team went into Boston and we stayed there right up until the capture.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
That's the whole story, man.
I love it. Awesome. Jim, thank you so much, brother. Can you hang on just like 2 seconds when I do the outro?
I sure can.
Awesome. Thank you. Guys, thank you for joining us. Another excellent interview. Thank you to Jim. Fantastic stories. And, sounds like it could be a twofer for the show. Have him come back and just do the whole Boston bombing thing. Really fascinating to talk to somebody who was boots on the ground from beginning to end. Totally insane situation. So thank you, Jim. This is the time of the show where I thank the Patreon sponsors. If you really love the show and you want to show that to me monetarily, which I like, you can do that through the link in the show notes. There's 3 options: patrolman, sergeant, lieutenant, captain. That's 4. There's 4 options. If you pick sergeant or above, you will get a shout out on the show. And who I'm talking about, these are the lieutenants. Who I'm talking about is great and powerful Andy Biggs, Kyle Roberts, everybody, Michael Roach, Roachbots, Roach Machines AI Solutions. Check them out. The handsome Lane Campbell, Gary Steiner, Adam Mihal, Seth Wright, Lauren Stimson, Jason Lau, Sasha McNabb, Sean Clifford, Tammy Walsh, hold it down to dispatch. Thank you, Tammy. Greg Tessier, George Tessier, love you, buddy. See you at church. Dennis Carrasquillo, Scott Young, Dan Carlson from Burley Board. Check him out on Instagram. Amazing woodworker. Raymond Arsenal, everybody. Richard Tolles, keep on trucking, brother. Elliot Sykes, everybody. Brad Thompson, Clark Lecup, Adam McMahon, Sheriff Ronald Long, Zachary Pleat, Jason Labrie, everybody. Lisa Gunno, Sherry Finch, Gabriel Decknop, everybody. Eric Smith, Jackson Dalton, Black Box Safety. Check them out. The great Marcus Johansson, Brett Lee, and Alex Wasik. Thank you guys so much for keeping the lights on, keeping the boat afloat over here. Like I said, if you really love the show and you're actually listening to this part of the show, perhaps you too will click the Patreon link and support. I love you guys, and I will see you next week.